business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Steve Ramona. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the pod.
Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. Every episode is an invitation, a reminder that business and life isn't just about profit, it's about purpose. It's about showing up with a servant's heart in every deal, every decision, every day. Today's guest is going to light you up like a firecracker. We're going to talk about connecting and growing your network, which is, if you don't have that skill, that's the first thing you need to work on, in my opinion. Got to watch when I say that, make sure it's my opinion. I'm sure my guest is going to believe the same thing. You'll be motivated, you'll be challenged, definitely, and most importantly, you'll walk away with tools that inspire action, both in your life and your business, and then the impact you're going to make with others. It's just powerful. But before we dive in, here's your homework. Well, who you serve today and how you serve others today. Keyword is today. Doesn't have to be a big impact. Even a small act of kindness or courage can change the game. So lean in, take notes, and let's discover how servant leadership in business can create ripple effects that last far beyond the bottom line. Quick shout out to my sponsor, Epic Impact, the only universal emotionally resonant messaging framework that works anywhere for any audience. This 4-step system transforms how I pitch, post, and podcast. Engage, persuade, inspire, and close. I use it daily, more than once daily, and it works. Grab your free trial at epicimpact.ia with promo code Steve to start inspiring today. A big shout out to my guests, including my guests today. We had top 20 in small business marketing, actually number 6 in the podcast world. I want to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart, because it's not me, it's the audience, you listening and being impacted and sharing this impact and my great guests like I have today. So thanks once again. Let's bring our guest on. Mike, welcome to the show.
Steve, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Why are you so passionate about connecting people?
Because I know what it's like on the other end when people have been generous to me, gracious to me, and connected me throughout the decades that I've been in business. And I know what it felt like. And you got to give back. That, the phrase now is pay it forward kind of thing. And it just works. And not only does it work, but I think in today's society of social media, Instagram, we have all of these non-physical touch points. We've lost the soft skill of making introductions face to face, where we have a coffee or a lunch and really get to understand an individual and what are they trying to do in their business, even if it's personal. What things are they trying to achieve? Where are they trying to go? How can I help? And it comes naturally, I guess. My mom was sort of this way, but I've found that cold calling, when you're in business, you have to do some cold calling, you have to do marketing, you have to have a website, you have to have Facebook and LinkedIn and all of those things. They're all quivers or arrows in your quiver. But I found what's been lacking over the last 10 years or so is this soft skill of actually listening and understanding, truly understanding the individual across the table from you.
Dive into soft skills, because there's a number of different definitions, not that none are wrong, but what's your definition and thought on soft skills, what it really means?
So a hard skill, I'll pivot a little bit. A hard skill would be, I'm selling tires. So I understand rubber compound, tread wear, tire size, what fits for what SUV or what passenger car, right? Soft skills is more the human element, the psychological side of it. What does Steve really need? He may be a huge distributor of tires, but tell me what's really going on. You have to ask certain questions and listen intentionally, listen actively, and find out, Steve's got a whole lot going on in his family life that's holding him back from actually building the business that he would like to build as this major tire distributor in the Midwest, let's say.
Yeah.
So that soft skill of listening rather than just assuming he's a big tire distributor because Steve puts a lot of commercials on TV, radio, and wherever you get your information, right? That it must be all sunny and 72 in Steve's land. Not necessarily. You got to slow down. You got to ask good questions. You got to listen intentionally. And you'll hear me use that word a lot. And I wear it out. But I think that's where the soft skill side comes in, so that you can really dig in with people.
Yeah. You told me a story before we met and today as well, the Michelin story. It's a perfect example. Talk about that and what they told you after you did some coaching and speaking with them.
Well, I was fortunate enough to be asked to go on another podcast, and the head of North American training at Michelin saw what I did in terms of the talk that I give, the process that I use in my business, and the coaching I do with companies around the upstate of South Carolina, which is where I live, and helping them broaden their footprint, if you will, and teach this soft skill. And he called me and he said, "Look, I saw this, and it fills a gap that we don't fill here at Michelin. Here's little old Mike Snively doing his thing, working really hard at connecting people in the upstate of Greenville, South Carolina. And here's big Michelin, multi-billion-dollar multinational firm." And his comment to me was, "We're really good at technical sales. We are horrible at teaching soft skills. They've stopped teaching them in college, in high school. We've gotten away from it. And what you do, Mike, is so unique about how to take your little group of connections and explode it." And I use this phrase sometimes in my talk, like the Oppenheimer effect. You split one atom into two, goes to 4, goes to 16, goes to 64, and then my math skills run out. But you get the idea. The mushroom cloud just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and your connections spread. And then everybody comes to you, and you become almost indispensable to an innumerable number of people because they know you know somebody that can help. And at the foundation of all of this, and that's why Michelin came to me, was I give more than I get. I don't track it because I think that's disingenuous to actually track that. But if I had to guess, if somebody put a gun to my head, Steve, it's probably 15 gives to a get. But I don't care, right? I know I'm doing the right thing. I'm helping these folks, whether it's a book that's cogent to a conversation that we've had, some topical information from a newspaper or an online article, some 6 bullet points from the world that I live in that's going to help a business be more resilient against cybercrime, or donuts, or an introduction. I track the introductions that I do. You're finding already that I'm a little passionate about what I do here.
Yeah, law of increase, definitely. And I think of Grow Rich is what comes to mind as you're talking. So we got these soft skills, which I love, and we very aligned that way big time. How about communication skills? What could you tell the audience of communication skills they need? You said listening, questions. Well, questions is another one. Talk about some of those skills.
So the thing that I find, and I have to force myself, I guess, not only to actively listen, which is use more of these, less of this when I'm talking to people, and let Steve finish his paragraph, and don't jump on whatever he said in the first sentence. We're horrible as humans. We are built to listen to respond, not listen to understand. And there are lots of books out there. I like one by Kate Murphy called You're Not Listening. Incredibly well written and provides some usable tactical bullet points for teaching yourself how to actively listen to somebody, not just what they say, but the body language, and respecting the fact that if Steve's sharing it, it must be important. So why is it important? How does that match up with the other 4 meetings that I had with Steve? So there's a communication skill. The other is something that I do in my talk that's called the empty cup mentality. When I go into every meeting, and this came from a mentor of mine some 30 years ago, and I was more arrogant than I am now. You know, the older you get, the more you realize you're not the smartest person in the world or in the room, right? And I didn't use it like I should have back then. I probably would have done some things differently, but over the years, I've gotten better at going into every meeting and trying to fill up that empty cup with new information about that individual, about the company that individual runs, about that individual personally, if it's what they want to talk about that day over coffee. And it's absolutely amazing the amount of new helpful information you're going to get if you just ask. And this is what blew Michelin away when I said, my discovery question is, tell me what's changed since the last time we met. And shut up. Let Steve talk. Well, we're going to open a new division in Atlanta, Georgia. Or both my parents have had a major medical issue. Well, tell me about that. You know, Steve, we had 3 big projects on tap. It sounds to me like with your mom and dad being seriously ill, we need to tap the brakes on those. Is that a safe assumption? Let's put that stuff on the back burner so you can focus on mom and dad. How can I help? Who do you need to talk to that might help lift some of that weight of your mom and dad's medical issues? Are there specialists that I can connect you with? So we've pivoted, right, immediately from that, from business to how can I help, make your world a little bit better if I can connect you with somebody that would be able to help your mom or your dad, right? But it's that empty cup mentality. And what's changed since the last time we met?
Yeah, the cup's different in serving. So you jump right into servant's heart. Less than
Yes.
5 minutes, you're serving with your whole
Yes.
heart,
Yep.
with no expectation of
Nope. Nope.
get back, what you do, and it happens. I've had guests on this morning that talked about that. Yeah, the universe works great when you do this. I love this. So there's a word that comes in all this. Tell me how you bring trust into this whole equation.
Well, because I believe for the most part, I'm human, so I mess up sometimes,
Sure.
but the trust part is I do what I say I'm going to do. And for instance, introductions or bits of information, the giving part. I don't think I've fallen yet on this. I may have missed a couple because it went to spam filter, but I track the number of introductions I do. And for instance, in 2022, I did 221 introductions. In 23, I did 171. Last year, I did 168. This year, I'm on track to do about 175, 180. And they're not, and I teach in my talk that I give how to give compelling introductions, not, and I'm going to use this, lazy butt introductions. Steve, meet Mike. Mike, meet Steve. You should have coffee. I think you've got some things to talk about. Not compelling at all. I have a format that compared to that, it looks like the Magna Carta. But I've got it in my CRM, so all I have to do is copy and paste the introductory paragraph that I get from everybody that I meet with, because I give them mine, which I've worked on for 6 years. I've wordsmithed it forever, probably 10 times. And it's, why should somebody give up a valuable resource, which is time, to talk to you? What differentiates Steve from all the other wealth managers in town? Everybody's got the same tools, but what makes you different? So I force my connections to think about why they're different than Susan and Joe down the street. They write this paragraph. I put the LinkedIn link at the end of it, and my introductions are so compelling that I've tracked them. Every one of the 221, the 171, the 168 met within 3 weeks of me doing it. And everybody came back and went bing, 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 bing. Mike, this is exactly what I was looking for. Or a back pocket introduction, my term. I'm not quite ready to switch CPA firms, but this is exactly the high quality person that I would like to do business with when we're ready in about 18 months. So I'm going to keep his name in my back pocket. I can't tell you the number of people that come back. Yeah, I get handwritten notes. It's like, this is amazing. I've got 10 or 12 people that don't even ask what the person does that I'm setting up, like a lunch, if I'm doing a lunch between the three of us. They don't care. They trust me so much that I'm bringing a quality person to them, and that I've listened over the course of several conversations.
Yeah, that's a great way to build trust. Audience, this may sound complex, but it's super simple. It's just a system that you get used to doing, and you can follow what Mike does or whatever, but just have a system to be able to do this. This can be done in person or on Zoom, right?
It can, although most of mine are in person. You ask my wife, she would say she has no idea how I do what I do, have the energy to do it, because I track the number of coffee meetings, the number of lunch meetings, the other meetings. Some of them are Zoom, but almost all of them are face to face. Where I live, it's fairly convenient. It's not like where you are. The traffic is not that big of an issue, and there are centers where people semi-congregate. And so I pick coffee meetings because it's before the calendar gets out of hand, and people can grab coffee at 8:30, have an hour conversation, and then get on with their day.
And I like that. And personal's coming back. COVID showed us we need to be meeting belly to belly. My dad used to say belly to belly meetings. Yep. You're a little bit younger than me, maybe a little bit, but we're the same age. We remember that. There's a lot of power now. I can't do it. You're right. You look at each of your situations. Yep. If you could do it in person, do it, but don't think if you can't, you're screwed. No,
there's still, it's a process. And
exactly.
I told the folks at Michelin, I said, my process isn't perfect, but if I didn't have a process that were like guardrails, I would get off in the weeds, and I would not be nearly as effective. I could not be as helpful and focused on, what's going on in people's businesses, where I can connect them with, it would get off the rails quickly.
Yeah. I love that. Get off the rails. It's so apropos. We're coming to the end here. You've proven to us this works. You've proven that anybody can do this. So people listening are going, God, Mike's got it. But how? Because getting started is always the first step. What's your best piece of advice to somebody listening to get started in doing this, connecting and building this network?
So when I built you can call it a wheel or what looks like a pie. And I picked important professions, if you will, that I wanted to connect to. I've got 10 of them on my wheel. And I mapped out a strategy for when I moved here 6.5 years ago, I knew nobody. Within 3 years, I had 1,400 centers of influence. And because I started going around actively and getting introductions or through either Rotary or some business development groups or whatever, and finding the managing partner of a CPA, fractional CFOs, business coaches, private equity people, merger and acquisition people. So commercial bankers, commercial real estate people, those folks for me in my business are important because they know their clients wide and deep, and they know the decision makers at the business. I don't want to know the receptionist, not that that person isn't important or a nice person. It doesn't, I don't have time to swim upstream, right? I've run a couple of businesses. I'm comfortable having a C-suite conversation, and I want to talk to people who are talking to the folks that write the check. So that would be one thing that I would tell your audience is figure out who the influential people are that you want to get to, because they're meeting with folks, right? They're running in that crowd. And I'm not saying you got to join the country club or, that may be one place, but there are associations. There might be the one killer commercial real estate person in town that really knows everybody. How do you get connected to them? And then from that Oppenheimer effect starts, right? The other thing is I would read a book, which is at the foundation of everything I do, and it's called The Go Giver. It's I think it's up to 4 now. Bob Berg, and I forget his other
Jeff C. West.
co-authors. Thank you. Incredible foundation for people. Before I even read the book, people handed it to me. This is exactly what you do. And it's the servant's heart, like you talk about, right? Give more than you get. And read the book. It's a quick read. And then figure out how to do compelling introductions. And here's the big key: cadence. You have to have intentional cadence with the people who get it, because I have a lot of meetings with people that don't get it. They are professional coffee suckers. and nice people, but they don't know how to be part of an intentional center of influence network, a referral partner network. They don't, and it's not quid pro quo, like I gave you a referral, I want one back. It's not that at all. But they just don't understand how to think about anything other than themselves in that narcissistic way, right? I don't have time for that. And that sounds harsh, but there's only so much time in the business day. So I have a cadence with 17 people monthly, and we cover target accounts. What target accounts, Steve, do you have that you're trying to get into that you're struggling with? I'll cover mine, and we figure out who can we introduce each other into. I might find you've got 20 and I may be able to introduce you into 5, right? But the cadence and the intentionality is key. If you don't, it's like family. If you don't have a cadence with talking to cousins or going to the family reunion, you lose touch, you don't know what's going on. You can't be really a good referral partner.
Intentional, you said 3 times. That's a word, audience. If you think about it, you got to be intentional about it.
Yes.
/ take action.
Yes.
Because
absolutely.
you're right. Center of influence means nothing unless you're intentional about it and taking action to do what you're doing. Man,
and
we ran over. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
And I want to make this one last point, that each of the last 3 years, 100% of my business came from those 17 ambassadors, those intentional centers of influence inside the 1400, who were introducing me to people who were introducing me. So this isn't just me wanting to have coffee. This has real results on the back end.
Business momentum is what I call it. I love a lot
Perfect.
of your taglines. And I'm glad we went over. And my point is we went over because there's so many darn good golden nuggets you gave us that are simple golden nuggets that anybody can do.
Yes.
We'll get your contact info in a minute here, but I got a great question I like to ask my guests.
Sure.
Get to know you a little bit more. So I've reserved a table at a restaurant, your favorite restaurant. You have 4 chairs. One you're going to sit in, obviously. Well, you and your wife, because I know you bring your wife with you. So who would be the 3 people that you would invite that you'd love to converse with for an hour or two, whether dead or alive? And what food would you order for the table?
Right. So I love steak. So it would be a steak place. I've got a favorite one in Chicago that's independent that I would go to. The 3 people, pretty easy. Jesus, Winston Churchill, and Abraham Lincoln. And Jesus is an obvious choice, I would hope, for many, because I could spend more than a dinner, asking questions, right? Filling that, it would be an empty bushel basket at least with Jesus. Churchill and Lincoln, to my way of thinking, were seminal individuals in their individual centuries. Our world would look incredibly different if it weren't for their titanium spines that they had to go through the Civil War and World War II with all their human flaws, right? They were not perfect people, but to be able to chat with them, and they were incredible. I've read biographies on both of them, and it's just mind-boggling, the struggles that they went through and the decisions they had to make, and the times that they were living in, and how our world is better because of the things they did.
What a great table. And I had to bring a 6th chair because I wanted to meet your wife. We've talked enough about your wife, but those other 3, yeah. As I would say, as people pick Jesus, which I would, that bread and water and wine would have to keep coming. We need a lot of bread and wines because we'd be there for a while. Mike, you are incredible. And thanks for taking the time, especially on a Saturday, but blessing us with this wonderful opportunity of how to really just be a good person, be a servant's heart. I know people listening are going to want to know how to connect with you. So how can they reach you?
So my email is msnively, MSNIVELY 56 @gmail.com. And my cell phone is 843-364-6575.
Beautiful. We'll have all that information in the chat. The show notes. Keep thinking, I'm thinking networking chat. We're on Zoom, but we're not going to use the chat because we're not going to see it. Thanks again, Mike.
No, thank you. I appreciate the chance to chat. And I know the epic format that your sponsor. I sit on a nonprofit board and we use it. And it is, I can tell you firsthand that it is incredibly well put together, and we get amazing results out of it.
It's powerful. I love it too. It's why it's sponsored. I use it all the time. Audience, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm going to give you an example why. Yeah, I love my subscribers. But here's the thing, if you're listening and want to listen to it over again, because there's some great stuff he gave you, great, probably 5 or 6 nuggets I wrote down. Well, when you subscribe, you get this link and you listen and then you have it. But here's the more important thing. What he's talking about is when he introduces people, it's a gift. He's giving gifts to people. Well, that's what podcasts are. And you're thinking, God, a friend of mine can really learn how to connect better. This cool thing about connecting and maybe doing coffee like Mike does, share it with them. They're going to listen to Mike for 10 or 15 minutes and go, oh, it's unbelievable. And then they get Mike's phone number or email and they can reach out. You impacted somebody's life. Me and Mike get to do it every day. He mentioned it, how many referrals he did. I do a lot of referrals too. It's the best feeling in the world. Think of 6-year-old at Christmas Day, how you felt. That's what we get to feel every day. With that being said, me and Mike want to thank everybody for watching or listening to this podcast, and we'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a wonderful day, everyone.